morning, Mr. Kartik Taneja. How are you doing?
Siddhaarth, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Welcome to Mashable Mornings in Dubai. We're rolling out of your residence, and I think it's imperative for people to know a little about you and Mashreq.
Sure.
So tell us, what can you tell us about the background that Mr. Kartik Taneja is?
So I want to start by saying, I always think of myself as a curious person,
ठीक है?
right?
Yeah.
I've all my life, whether it's like personally or in business, I want to figure out things. Why do things work in a certain way?
What a
right?
great approach.
Yeah, and also that leads to things like experimentation, a little bit of risk taking. So I would consider myself a risk taker.
Yeah.
Right. And fortunately, if you take the career perspective, I think some of those risks, not everything, turned out all right for me. So currently, I lead the payments and consumer lending function
Sweet.
at Mashreq Bank.
All right.
And I also am the executive chairman for a subsidiary called NeoPay, which is in the payments business.
Oh, so you're the guy who's experimenting and giving us all the cool stuff from Mashreq Bank.
Some of the cool stuff, yes, for sure.
What is your normal day like? What is your morning routine like?
Personally, my life is all about music.
Oh.
So I go to sleep listening to music. When I wake up, I'll probably listen to music. I may have a podcast up, when I wake up.
Nice.
From a work perspective, I think two rituals that I do. One is that I definitely look at my calendar for the next day and the day after.
Fair enough.
That helps me figure out, how stressed is the morning, what do I need to focus on and things like that. The other one that I'm trying is, making sure that I give a few minutes of mindfulness when I wake up.
Okay.
And I wouldn't say I'm like 100% disciplined with that. I think I'm getting better and better as time is progressing.
So like meditation, etc.
I wouldn't call it meditation, but it's just like a few minutes of calm and just breathing exercise and just thinking about nothing but that.
And I think that helps you get a kickstart into the day, right?
Yeah, at least it helps me focus better, I feel.
So then you end up doing some amount of mindfulness, and then you check your emails. Are you on the phone? Are you reading something?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's generally what it is. Yeah. And then at work, you run your day through, and then you're back.
Yeah, most of my day is actually spent in meetings. So, what I cherish is the time when I'm actually spending time outside of work, just with, my team, whether it's on phone, because my team is dispersed over multiple markets,
yeah,
or video, or, especially in person.
Nice. I think after COVID, everybody wants to be in person and, actually talk to the team, build culture out, right?
Yeah.
So, Mashreq Bank has always been at the innovative forefront of building these cool initiatives. Where did that come about, and how did that come about, and how do you motivate the team to kind of keep innovating constantly?
Look, my belief is that we have to stay ahead of the competition. Otherwise, banking is about, think of each customer as a database, right?
Okay.
You either have a positive value or you have a negative value in the base, and what you do transforms that.
Correct.
So it can be thought of as very generic or, as a utility, but I don't believe that is the case.
Yeah.
I think banks play a role in risk taking in the economy, right? In terms of leverage drives faster growth, it drives GDP.
Yeah. 100%.
And the ability to create solutions, right, makes things go better or worse. And if we have to get better every time, a lot of times we think about getting incrementally better. My focus is on how do we get, exponentially better.
Okay.
Right. And one of the ideas that we did, and it took us a while to do, is that when I came here, cards, and for most banks even today, that's the truth, are sold through people with an application form with tens of documents. So we decided we wanted to change this completely inside out.
Interesting.
So a lot of people were involved in this, and we decided to go for a process where we don't need any document. It's 100% paperless. We will not even ask for a piece of paper from you if we can help it.
And that's fully compliant as well.
And remaining fully compliant, and making sure that we are not taking undue risks when we are doing that, or at least we are clear about what risks we are taking.
So cool.
And it took us 3 attempts, I must say.
Oh, yeah.
So we tried, and it completely blew up. Then we tried again. It was all right, but not there. And the third time, I think we got it right. So we made that big exponential change, and clients seem to like it. So customers, we've got now 10 times the customers coming to us than what we did, let's say, 3 years ago.
How do you motivate your team at a point when you've just like kind of attempted something and then not been able to get there?
We assume that everything has gone wrong.
Okay.
Right? And then we then talk about what do you think went wrong?
Okay.
Right?
So technically
this,
not worst case scenario.
This
Yeah.
helps maybe surface few things that people are thinking about or worrying about but haven't said it for whatever reason, right? And the second thing is just making sure as a culture, Mashreq has a culture where we have psychological safety as one of the things that we focus on. So it's like don't shoot the messenger. If something has gone wrong, I think I would like my team to surface it to me fast and be very, very sure that they're not going to get beaten up for that. And we solve the problem before we figure out, what happened.
So what is this new initiative that I've heard of, Climb to Change?
So Climb to Change is Mashreq's global initiative.
All right.
It kind of integrates all the different ESG initiatives the bank is doing. Right?
Okay.
It's a view to get to highlight the bank's role in sustainability linked finance, not only our participation in COP28, but all the different things that we are doing around it.
Nice.
To drive acceleration to sustainable practices and responsible banking, right? So there's a bunch of things that we are doing within that, and we can talk about that. So on the retail side, for example, some of the things we are doing, we're doing 100%. We've made all our plastic cards out of 100% recycled plastics.
I'm just going to stop you quickly there. Basically, what we don't realize as users, and you all should let me know in the comments below, is the debit card or the credit card we're holding fully recyclable? And that's kudos to everybody who came up with that Mashreq Bank.
I agree. I think it was a year-long process. Lots of people were involved. It doesn't happen overnight. I would say it went up to even our group CEO. And everybody has encouraged and supported this initiative. So not every card today would be recycled, but we've launched, I think, about 2 months ago, where all our plastics going forward are going to be 100% recycled.
And these are FSC certified.
The paper that we use to send, firstly, we've reduced a lot of the paper. Like I said earlier, we have a paperless application process, but even the card that we send out comes in an envelope which is made of FSC certified recycled paper.
Wow.
Right? So we are saving, I believe when we replace 1 million odd plastics in the market, we'll save about 2.5 tons of plastic, but also 42 tons of paper.
Oh my God, that's amazing. I think that's the thing about us as youth, we love our people who or other brands that we liaise or work with who are responsible. So thank you so much for being this brand that you're building.
Well, we are also aware, right? That this is a step. This is not going to change everything.
Yeah.
But I think this is a positive step, and I think everybody encourages that. So we've got a lot of love from our clients, not only because it's an ESG or it's a sustainable initiative, but also the plastics. I think the new cards look very beautiful.
They do. Where did the inspiration for this come from?
So I have to thank the marketing people for that. I think they came up with this amazing idea that every card should represent one of the endangered species or one of the species in the ecosystem that we operate in.
Oh wow.
So in every card you will see one of those species. So it's sort of also every time you take it out or you look at it, we are hoping that this also encourages people to think about the ecosystem that we live in. Even though we live in a desert, you'd be surprised how many species are able to survive in the desert, and how much of an ecosystem exists here.
Damn, can I choose the kind of animal I get or the species I...
Not at this time, no, but there are many options there.
I would love to also be handed something so then maybe when I'm out in the desert on a safari, I can kind of see that and be like informed because of Mashreq. That's so cool.
But you can actually do that in a different way.
Yeah.
So we also partnered with Emirates Nature World Wildlife Fund.
I've heard of that, yes.
And we've started this or we are supporting this initiative by them called Notice Nature.
Correct.
And Notice Nature is about creating this whole new generation of citizen scientists who are able to use their app to basically look at a species, And using artificial intelligence, if you take a picture, they will identify the species and you can tag it with a date and time, and that helps WWF figure out how many of these species are available at this point of time. When were they sighted?
Correct.
This is one of the largest initiatives that they are doing at this
Congratulations.
point.
I think I can't imagine. I'm a little flabbergasted is because I can't picture a bank doing such cool conservatory stuff.
So as you know, as part of our commitment, the bank has committed to be able to facilitate $30 billion of financing, right, by 2030 for sustainable projects.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
How are you motivating the team to kind of think about newer stuff? Because when we start doing something right, then it kind of hits the ceiling and we curtail it there, right? So tell me this, how are you hiring, right? Like, what is your hiring process?
So Mashreq has a philosophy that we want to enable work from anywhere.
Okay.
For our staff, and we've had a practice of hiring at least for the last, I'm gonna say 3 to 4 years, of hiring not just in the UAE,
Okay.
but actually pretty much anywhere. We have employees mostly, let's say, in India. We have employees
Nice.
in Pakistan. We have employees in Egypt. We also have employees here and there, like London and
Oh, wow.
some other places as well. And the bank has invested in technology that enables us to do that.
Super.
Right. So I think that's one of the most progressive things that we have been able to so far, succeed with, and it looks like that's working now.
What we as customers don't realize it from a banking perspective. When I was researching, I realized that even your welcome packs are 100% recyclable.
Yes.
So not just the debit and credit cards, but even the welcome pack. So what
Yes.
goes behind this welcome pack that one customer receives?
There was a lot of work we did to look at every piece of paper and every bit of information that we are required to send. A lot of it through regulation we are required
Yeah, of course.
to declare to our clients. And what we figured out that, let's say 99% of that stuff actually doesn't need to be sent as a physical piece of paper.
Yeah.
So today when you have our FSC certified recycled paper pack which comes to you, it will have your card and it will have a QR code. So you can just look at,
That's it.
scan the QR code and you can go and look at all the information which is available to you.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty simple. You've actually become very customer friendly also, and you've reduced while getting sustainable.
Yeah.
What's interesting is India once made a carbon neutral feature film, and I was the chief assistant director on
Wow.
it. So it just is lovely that today I sit next to you, who's created the carbon footprint calculator. That's right.
Yeah.
What does this mean?
So first of all, I want to clarify, this is done by a third party.
Fair enough.
It's independently verified. This
Okay.
company is called Ecolytic. They're Germany based. And I want to thank Visa who introduced us to Ecolytic, and we worked with them to get this carbon calculator into our application, into our app.
Neat.
So when you go into the card section, based on the transactions you do, right, they have algorithms which are open source. You can
Fair enough.
actually go and verify them.
Oh wow.
And they are verified, which basically link your transaction history to a carbon footprint, and they calculate it and show it to you. And then we are also showing versus the average for UAE, where are you higher or lower and why.
Oh.
And I think we have big plans to actually get into nudges around that, saying what could be one thing you can do to reduce your carbon footprint, as an example.
So you basically gamified being friendly to nature.
Yes, it's a start. I think we are hoping to make it bigger as we go along.
Kudos to that. I think, do you know your carbon footprint? Like, have you been able to track yours?
Yes, I do. In fact, on the floor, there is a lot of comparison. So I would say I have a higher carbon footprint than most people because of two reasons. I fly a lot.
Okay.
And I also order food a lot. So one thing I can tell you is that I resolved that I will start making more stuff at home rather than
Fair
ordering in from one of the other apps.
Fair enough. I think if we try resetting, then we will be at a better place. Correct?
Yeah.
So maybe we do a planting trip the next time we are chatting, and then actually reduce our carbon footprint also.
Yeah, we will allow that. That's coming soon.
Oh yeah.
Where you will be able to press a button and offset your carbon footprint. So that's something in the works. I'm sharing that in advance with you.
Oh wow, lovely.
So
We love that.
That's coming soon.
How was the office vibe when you first started off versus what it is like today?
When I came to Mashreq, I realized this is a bank which is known for its innovation. They were doing well. But I felt that at least in the areas that I look at, we didn't have enough ambition.
Yeah.
So you can't just be saying we are better than what we were last year. I think we have to benchmark to saying what is the best in the world and how do we get there.
Fair enough.
Right? And size is an important metric for that, although it's not the only thing. But you can't get there by doing what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
So in my mind, if I can take a little bit of credit, it's for basically instilling that sense of ambition and trying to do things differently than what everyone is doing.
Nice.
So that we can get ahead.
That's so cool. I think it is a constantly evolving process. What is the general culture on the floor at work?
So it's a very welcoming organization, at least a lot of new joiners, and I make it a point to talk to all the new joiners after a month or 6 months, have a personal one-on-one, even skip levels.
Okay.
A lot of people have told me that the culture is helpful. It is, people are welcoming. They're eager to figure out, to help you figure out things if you're struggling.
Sweet.
So it's generally, I would say, not very political. It's generally a helpful place.
I love that. It's encouraging to hear things like that with organizations such as yours. But what if you had to give advice to an 18-year-old who wants to get into the payments and digital banking or banking industry?
Build something real, right?
Okay.
It has to solve a real problem.
Yeah.
Now here's where I think a lot of people miss this second part of it. The corollary is that you can't be slightly better.
Okay.
Because this whole payment world works on friction. And how people are used to doing certain things. So there's friction and inertia, right? So you have to make it much better for your customer, for your client, for them to see value and actually make that switch to you from whatever they're doing today.
Fair enough.
And that's not simple.
That's true.
That's not easy.
I mean, we have so many options, right? As the consumer of 2023-4 right now that we're talking, that we can switch very, very, very easily.
Correct. And
But,
yet people don't.
Yeah, they don't. We don't. I mean, with our banking, at least once we are married to the bank, then we are married for a very long time.
Yeah.
So, generally, what is your advice for any youngster getting into the workforce?
I think you have to be nimble. The world is changing much faster than when I joined the banking industry.
Yeah.
So, agility is very important, to be able to keep learning new things. Even 10 years, especially, that's a dangerous part of your career when you're at 10 years, right? And you have to, if you have to pivot to something new, something that many people have trouble doing is like, I've invested 10 years into this, how do I pivot to doing something new?
Yeah.
That's the point when you should think really carefully, because that may be the point where you should pivot.
And how do you build that risk-taking capability?
Some of it is inborn, some of it comes from the fact that if you have resources, it depends on your particular situation. It may not be for everyone.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to look at your particular situation and figure out whether what are the possible downsides, and if you don't make this, then what are the possible downsides, and then make that leap. So I'm not suggesting everybody should just make the change or take the leap just because. You have to think about your situation.
For sure. And since we're doing this in Dubai, I think it is very imperative to ask, how do you work with multiple cultures? How do you make sure that you're making everybody comfortable in the room?
So it's all about little things. I think inclusivity comes from things like, for example, if there are more than 3 people in a meeting, at least we have a rule which says that everyone must speak in English. And now we have people from different cultures in our team, and it's important to remember that. There are other small things. This one I wanted to point out. The other one is just making sure that if it's a sports thing, then it's not only cricket, right? There is also football. There
Yes,
are
you're
other
right.
things as well.
Yeah, there's basketball and all kinds
Correct.
of
So
events.
supporting multiple things and not staying unidimensional, and you
Yeah.
have to make an effort to take out this unconscious bias. It's not easy to do, and I don't think anyone can claim that they have 100%, they're 100% unbiased, but making the effort towards that helps.
For sure.
Yeah.
What has your journey been like in terms of moving the countries that you moved?
Oh, interesting you asked me that. So before this, I was based in Singapore for a very long time,
Yep.
the better part of almost 15, 16 years.
Yeah.
And but it wasn't Singapore, because I actually used to joke that my home address is Singapore Airlines, because I was in a global job, and I used to travel quite a bit. And so while I have lived in Singapore, I have managed Malaysia, I have managed Southeast Asia markets,
Super.
and eventually I was in a global role where I was looking at 23 markets. So
Oh my God.
I had a lot of travel.
And a
that
lot
I
of
was
time
doing.
zones to deal with.
Yes.
How do you manage a multiple time zone kind of managerial position?
It means that you have to be flexible to operate at different hours. So I could be sitting in a hotel room at 2 a.m. and being on a conference call. But equally, I think even my prior organization was quite evolved, in the sense that they understood these things and they were able to help you navigate some of those, some through technology, some through
Nice.
the policies that they had.
Superb.
So I'm very grateful to my previous organization as well,
Yeah.
for giving me those opportunities and allowing me to see the world through that lens.
Superb. I think that camaraderie with your manager, what is the crack of being able to, be cracking it with your manager? How do you crack it?
See, you can't choose your parents and you can't choose your boss, right? So I think the important thing is to remember that they are important,
Yeah.
and you have to adapt to their style. And most of the conflict really comes from conflict is from style differences, right?
That's true.
And some adaptation, some agility is required to do that. It works perfectly sometimes, it doesn't work perfectly occasionally. And again, unlike parents, your bosses will come and go. So sometimes you just have to outlast them.
Fair enough. Is there a hack in which you are able to kind of drive the message home for larger teams?
I think it's just over communication.
Okay.
You have to over manage the message.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying it once is not enough.
Yeah.
So at minimum 3 times in a meeting will ensure that it will hopefully register. And
So it's
then
like advertising.
repeating that. Yes, 100%.
And particularly with the payments industry or the banking industry, how is AI coming in and how is it changing your lives?
So AI, I would say for financial companies, we have been using AIs for decades already, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So when even let's say 10, 15 years ago, we used to use what were then called neural networks, which
Correct.
were sort of the proto AI, right? In fraud detection, we were using some of those. I think those use cases have evolved. The technology has become much bigger. It's now turning to many different areas in what we do. So for example, right, you might not know, but let's say when someone is talking to you on the phone, right, and you are behind on your payment, right, you may not be aware that some machine is also listening to that conversation, and then it's helping the person talk to you in a better way by suggesting options that they can use, and it's also trying to calculate a probability that what is the chances that you are truthful about what you're saying. Right, so that could mean that we treat you in a better way, or in a different way,
correct,
than any other client, right? So based on that, we are also trying to evolve, and the purpose of this is not Big Brother. The purpose of this is to ensure that we are talking to you in a form that you are comfortable with, that your experience with us is better than it would otherwise be.
I mean, it is the service industry after all.
So you can't have one size fits all. It can't be just one way of dealing with it.
Fair enough. I think the financial service with the service industry is the crack of the new age banking sector, correct?
Yeah.
Super. So, tell me this: were you really good at math, and is that the perception that every finance person is supposed to have?
So yes, I was really good at math. That is accurate. But I don't think it is. Well, I would say it's important. It is not. You can't be really bad at math and
Yeah.
survive in finance, but it doesn't mean you have to be a whiz kid. You need to understand how math works. In my business, for example, it's a lot of it is statistics based,
Yeah.
right? So having some knowledge about statistics is helpful, but you don't have to be a statistician to succeed. I'm not a statistician,
Yeah.
but knowing it is better than not knowing it. I would
Fair
say
enough.
that way.
Fair enough. Are you somebody who takes bets on businesses or people?
People,
People? Always?
always.
Super. That's interesting to know. So, what can you tell us? What's new at what you're doing at Mashreq and Mashreq Bank, and what's something that we should look forward to?
So let me just talk about the payments business, right,
Yeah.
for a minute. So in payments, I think there are two very distinct trends which are emerging. On the one hand, you have more sophisticated clients
Correct.
who are basically telling us you need to be really, really good at this one thing, and I will take this one thing from you,
Super.
right?
Yeah.
So it means that you have to be specialized and you have to be very good at that specialization.
Fair enough.
There's this other set of clients who are telling us that I just need you to solve my payment problem. This is not my core business. You guys should know how to figure this out for me and give me a solution that I can plug in very easily
Yeah.
and it solves everything, right? So it kind of drives me towards an ecosystem or a generalist kind of approach.
Fair enough.
I think we're trying to find that balance between the two and say, okay, to me, it feels like the ecosystem approach is what might prevail
Yeah.
in the longer run. But I don't think you can be bad at something and still succeed. So we have to find that balance between the two.
Fair enough. I think that's great. But is there a reason why we can tell people that their digital payments, tap and go sometimes doesn't work? Because that's a big pain point for a lot of people.
Yes. So I can tell you, in fact, we got an award for that we have the highest approval rate in
Oh,
this
wow.
in this market. Mashreq has the highest approval rate for VisaNet.
Interesting.
That Visa told us.
Yeah.
And you're right with that. There is that fraction of a percent of people or transactions who will get declined, and sometimes it's for different reasons,
Fair
right?
enough.
You could have run out of credit limit,
True.
or you may have forgotten to make a repayment,
Okay.
or there could have been some sort of suspicious transaction which made
Ah.
us block it. And again, the answer is that there's no silver bullet to it. What we are trying to do is give more and more information and be more and more transparent with our customers.
Fair enough.
And we are building tools. For example, again, I'm giving you a sneak peek.
Yeah.
One of the tools we are building is that if you're traveling, you should be able to just click a button and say, I am, over, like I'm close to my limit and I'd like some more for a
Extension,
small
yeah.
period of time. And you should be able to do that.
Thanks.
So that's one of the things that the team is working on for 2024 to
Superb.
get it done.
How much are you traveling now, and how much are you taking from your travels, coming back home and learning from those travels?
I try to meet people in my field and try to go and see what new things are happening in the industry.
Yeah.
That I see as one of the core parts of what I do. Leading a business like this.
Fair enough.
So I do travel a fair bit. I was in Berlin at a World Payments Forum before this few weeks ago. Before that, a few weeks ago, I was in Singapore at the Singapore FinTech Festival.
True.
So it's really important to keep in touch with the new companies, the new thinking, and the interesting work which is happening outside of the UAE. And some of those ideas may take time. Some of them are not a good fit, but still it's important for you to know what's going on. And some of them you just come up with an idea saying, okay, we can do this here,
Yeah.
right? Or we can partner with this company. So for example, the last trip ended up with us partnering with a AI scorecard development company,
Okay.
which will help us develop our scorecard so we can decide who is more credit worthy versus who is less credit worthy.
Fair enough.
Right? And these things used to take months. If all goes well, that process should be reduced to weeks.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I think for those users, audiences of ours who are open to sharing their credit scores, you all should let us know your credit scores in the comments below.
Yeah.
I would love to see what there is like that.
Yeah.
Is there a commonality you see in the consumer in the UAE or all of Southeast Asia?
I would say Singapore and UAE are not that different.
Really?
Yeah, in many ways, they are similar. They are small open economies,
Okay.
right? In a region which is probably bigger than them,
Yeah.
and they rely heavily on trade. They rely heavily on services,
True.
right? And they rely heavily on talent that comes in to, make a lot of that work
Correct.
get done. Probably more here, less in Singapore, but still, it's a large proportion.
Yeah.
So in many ways, I see
Similarities.
very, very similar things that are there.
And is there an equal amount frugal approach as there is a splurgent approach to things?
That depends on different things, I think, and depends on the point of time and what is in focus. That I would say the two are probably not similar in that.
Yeah.
Maybe Singapore is a little bit ahead in some things.
Yeah.
I would say Dubai is at this point of time, UAE in general, Dubai in particular, is at the right place at the right time in
Yeah.
history.
Yeah.
There is no better place to be than here.
Really?
Yeah.
And it's not like a lot of people say it's a transitory space for a lot of people. That's not true
I
anymore.
think historically that is true.
Yeah.
I think the way the government is looking at it, the policies that are coming out, the changes that are already visible, I think it's making that change from being a transitory place to a more permanent home. I think
Yeah.
you can see that that's happening, and
That's
that's
true.
really good for the economy.
What are some things that excite you in today's banking and payments industry times?
Oh, I think you talked about the contactless and failure, right? So I would say that was really what you were talking about as the wave one of the payment
True.
innovation,
Yeah.
right? Wave 2 is something we are already in. So a few weeks ago, we launched ANI, which is the real-time payment solution, which is an account-to-account payment
Okay.
or account-to-merchant payment, right? Similar to IMPS, for example,
Yes.
in India. There's 70 other countries which are launching some system. I would say that's innovation wave 2,
Wow.
right? Real-time payments, which we are in the thick of. I think there's a third wave which is coming, which is going to rely on DLT technology, right?
Okay.
Which is distributed ledgers and CBDCs and stable coins.
Wow.
And I think there is a lot of question marks about it, but there are emerging use cases, especially in, let's say, money transfer, in trade, in capital markets, and for consumers, maybe in atomic payments. Some of those use cases, I think, are emerging. It's still, I think, the jury is out
Yeah.
whether this particular format will succeed, but I think there are now emerging use cases that should enable that tech to also
Interesting.
become mainstream.
And tech now is inevitably into everybody's business. Like you need to be aware of your tech.
Everybody is a fintech.
But there is a lot of scare when you're doing things also, right? When in fintech, because you have to be compliant to a lot of other bodies,
Yes.
which completely always keep a check on you. Correct.
That's true.
So how do you navigate, being compliant across multiple external parties?
It's not simple.
Yeah.
And that's why I would say banking, let's say, unlike some of the other industries, is a little harder because you have multiple stakeholders who are looking at what you're doing from a process perspective or from a risk management perspective.
Yeah.
But I think even regulators are seeing this wave and they are enabling a lot of that change to happen with the regulations that they are bringing out. So in particular, the Central Bank of UAE has made enormous strides in enabling fintechs and enabling banks to digitize.
Oh, wow. I think there's that push that they keep having, and they're constantly liaising with all of you all also, I'm assuming, to kind of make that happen, correct?
Yeah.
That's true. I love that. These offers and these new attractions that we keep getting, How often are you all looking into those? And what kind of like, I mean, when you join, etc., you get X or Y or Z. Those propositions, how are you thinking of those?
So that is a core part of product management that
Yeah.
any product manager is supposed to do. They're looking at client insights, they're segmenting the population and saying, hey, we have a bunch of people who are coming in, for example, who are new to the country today.
True.
Right? And traditionally they don't get any credit.
Yeah.
Right? And typically only with their salary transfer bank and so on.
True.
So we are thinking, for example, one of the thoughts, and maybe it'll come through, maybe it will not come through, but is an idea around how do we look at these people's credit history in the country of their origin.
Oh, wow.
And if we are able to do that, then it becomes like a credit passport.
True.
Right? And we are able to give them a credit card as soon as they land and not wait for 6 months, 1 year, whatever
That's
it
true.
is,
Yeah.
to be able to give them credit, because that's the time you need credit the most, when you're coming into the country. But that's also traditionally for banks, it's been the riskiest point to give credit.
Yeah.
Right? So we're trying to bridge some of those gaps and also look at things like, what are customers interested in, what are they less interested in, and keep evolving what we are offering.
That's interesting. Gen Z in the workforce, are you excited to have them coming in and like work with them?
100%. I think they are smarter than anyone in my generation. I have seen it, and I have no doubt about it. And they look at world from, I would say, in general, and I'm generalizing obviously, right? They look at the world from a mindset of plenty, right? Not from a frugality mindset. I'll give you an example. So one of my children, my son, he designed a prototype of a bin, a smart bin, that would automatically sort out
wet and dry waste.
Not wet and dry waste, but recyclables and non-recyclables, and then put them in the right bin, because the insight they had, he was working with another person, another friend, was that people don't recycle partly because they find it difficult to separate. Right?
Yeah.
So when they did this and it was picked up, they got an award from the government of Singapore for that. And my view to him was like, we should quickly patent this. And his view was, I'm going to put it on GitHub. Right? So that's what I'm talking about. I think they come with a lot of generosity. I think they want to really solve things. And that mindset is what is required to make the real change that we are trying to do.
True. Not the patience bit that everybody keeps discussing about theirs is not your purview.
Yeah.
They seem to be an impatient generation.
Very impatient.
Yeah, that's agreed upon.
It's good and bad. I wouldn't say it's bad. I would say it's good in many ways.
Yeah.
Because you want change fast.
That's true. You've seen Dubai evolve. What was that journey like, and how much does the city yield to what you do and are?
It's an important part. Like, everything exists because of there's an ecosystem that allows you to exist, right? If Dubai wasn't the way it is, we wouldn't have the people, we wouldn't have the talent coming here, we wouldn't have the customer base that we serve, right? So everything we do is in the context of the place that we are in.
Correct.
And you can't get away from that fact in any way.
Yeah. Because it is a melting pot of so many cultures and so much that's happening, correct?
Yeah.
And there's something always happening here. COP28 just finished. There's another thing that's going to just start now.
Yeah.
What do you like about the city, and what are your hobbies like?
Oh, that way I would say I'm very boring. You want to keep left here.
Left, okay.
Yeah.
You're boring, you said?
Yeah.
Where's
so
that?
I generally, outside of listening to music, I work out.
Okay.
So I lift weights, and that I do CrossFit.
Nice.
But that's what I do. I keep telling myself that I want to pick up golf. I haven't done so far, but that's on my list of things that I will get to. So that's what I do. I enjoy being here. I live away from my family. My family lives in Singapore. A lot of people would be like that.
Yeah.
So I do end up traveling a fair bit whenever I have time to go see them.
All right. And is that you also trying to match time zones to talk to them often?
Yeah, so that's one of the rituals in the evening when I leave from work.
Yeah.
When I'm walking back, I would be typically on the phone with my wife and trying
Nice.
to do a video with the kids at that point of time.
And how do you maintain friendships with this global citizenship that you have?
That's not difficult. If
Yeah.
you have to make the effort. I think there's a little bit of personality, I guess. So I love being in touch with my friends, and I think that's what helps stay in touch. That
Yeah.
you do have to put in a little bit of energy to stay in touch,
That's
and
true.
those things mean that you can I can land in I don't know, LA, and I will have some friends there, and we'll pick it off from the
Where we
last
left
time
off.
we met.
Thank you so much, Kartik Taneja, for being with us
It
on
was a
Mashable
pleasure.
Mornings. This was us discussing everything that's cool and happening at Mashreq Bank, but also how they're doing something that's good for the world, that's sustainable. If you all want to test their carbon footprint calculator, I think they can head to the
Please,
website.
most welcome. No, it's on our app.
Oh, wow.
So you need to be a debit or a credit. So you need to have either an account or a credit card to be able to do that.
Sorted.
But easy enough to. I would encourage you to try to get one of our products and try it out.
Yeah, the welcome packs are 100% recyclable, and I'm eager to catch hold of one of them. Let's see if my credit is sufficing. But thank you so much for being on Mashable Mornings. This is me, Siddhaarth Aalambayan, signing off. Do not forget to let us know things in the comments that you've learned from this episode. And do not forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Mashable Mornings. Bye-bye, folks.